All right, everybody, 2015 MEP'S Week 5 Top 7 Talk. We are introducing Mr. Indiana Hoosier himself, James Thompson. I have an intro music for you, which I know you're going to love.
My jam.
I figured you would appreciate a little Ellie Goulding, even though that is to the 50 Shades of Grey soundtrack I was unaware of. So that is another story for another day, I would assume. Anyways, how's it going, man?
Seen the movie.
I've never seen the movie. I've never read the books. I'm not. One day I think we'll get there. But anyways, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. You know, it's a good Tuesday night.
Yeah. Is the Jax man asleep?
Yeah, it was a quick sleep tonight. He just went straight to bed. So
All right. Well,
he was eager for me to get going here.
He will have to watch the video tomorrow and see how his pops did. So I'm going to get to the top 7 here real quick, and then we'll talk some Big Ten and Indiana Hoosier football. Mr. Dan Geider was very excited about this. He was wondering how much Hoosier football would be discussed this week. Number 7, I'm taking Oregon, covering 7.5 at Colorado. They just lost 62-20. So on the surface, everybody thinks this is going to be a pretty lunatic-style pick. But if this was last week, it probably would have been three touchdowns, maybe 24 points. I can't imagine that Oregon's going to be that bad again against an inferior talent. I don't care that the game is in Colorado, but can they play back-to-back terrible games? They should play an average game at best and still beat Colorado by 10 points. What do you think?
I don't know about average or even winning. I mean, yes, they got destroyed by Utah. They played Michigan State pretty close, but I don't see them winning here.
Wow.
I think Colorado did in the fourth quarter.
Calling for the outright upset. Hey, let's just say if Oregon loses to Colorado this week, there's going to be a lot of heat up in Eugene, and there's a lot of money in Eugene, Oregon, with all the Nike, and they're not going to like losing to Colorado. We'll see. In the background here, I have the 19. So for everybody, you'll be able to see this. I believe this is the 1991 Copper Bowl, the last Hoosier victory in a bowl game. So we have that playing behind, just so everybody can get it. Look at the old Indiana had some solid uniforms back in the day, and I remember their running back was Von Dunbar. That's all I remember.
That's all anybody remembers.
Yes, absolutely. Number 6, I'm taking Texas, getting 17.5 at TCU. Texas has had a couple rough weeks of kind of misfortune and bad calls. Last week, Charlie Strong got a 15-yard penalty for talking to an official. They called a holding penalty on the defensive lineman who was getting pancaked. And I watched TCU, Texas Tech last week. TCU can score on anybody, but their defense is absolutely disgusting. And Texas's offense is woken up, and I don't know how TCU is supposed to stop anybody and cover 17.5 points. I think it'll be like probably a 10-point game. What do you think?
No, I'm right on top of you with that. I agree. I think TCU, they can score a lot, but they have no D. And I think, Texas, they've lost some close games. I mean, I think they'll cover, but they're going to lose.
Yeah, I think they're going to lose too. But this should be another close game, just because the TCU defense last week. I mean, Texas Tech did anything they wanted. Number 5, maybe probably Matt Freeland's favorite pick of the week. All the way to the AAC, taking 0-4 Central Florida at Tulane. This is a much maligned style pick, as both teams are terrible. The line is screwy. Before the season, I had UCF as I believe, the AAC winner, or at least top 2. This is the Domino's Pizza Copper Bowl, by the way. This is more of a Tulane has been absolutely pathetic through the first 3 weeks, and UCF last week played pretty well against South Carolina for half before South Carolina made some adjustments. The talent is on UCF side. Should anybody actually bet this game outside of parlaying it in the top 7? Probably not. This also gives me a burning desire to watch this game. So what do you think?
I don't know. I'm getting filmed in 2 areas now. I am now on a FaceTime from my lovely wife.
Oh, boy.
To other people. There is background MEP action going on right now.
This is like picture in picture.
But
we can have her on. We can have her on later in the year.
I think that both of these teams would lose to the Bears, and that's not saying much.
No.
Ultimately, I think a lot of the players on these teams will be playing for the Bears in a couple of years. But I think UCF has more promise here. They've,
yes.
at least scored some points, and Tulane really hasn't played much of anyone, so I would give it to UCF also.
Yeah, Tulane gave up 60-something points to Duke, and if they give up 60-something points to Duke, I think they're going to lose to Central Florida. That's just the deduction I did there. Number 4, and this one actually my resident Cal fan, Chris Denise, agrees with. Washington State getting 19 at Cal. Last year, this game came down to a missed 19-yard field goal by Washington State at Cal that gave Cal the victory. 19 points. I think I'm trying to have the Bears give up for Goff, and I'm fired up for Cal being 4-0 and ranked. But Cal does not play much defense. Washington State will score. 19 seems like a lot. What do you think?
I think Cal is going to look to bump themselves in the rankings. I think they're going to pour it on strong, and I think they're going to cover the 19 points.
Okay. It's another game that I look forward to watching.
Washington's coming off a bye week. I think they're going to start slow, and then they just won't catch up.
Okay. They do. The Pirate hopefully will have something ready for Cal to at least keep the spread close. I told Chris that we want Washington State to lose by 18 this weekend. Number 3, it's a little bit dicey right now to believe in Minnesota. Their 4 games this year, they lost by TCU by 6. They won their other 3 games by 3 points apiece over Colorado State, Kent State, and last week over Ohio. So the Jerry Kill we love, our Huskies have come to know is pretty much doing what he did at NIU, which is have a team that plays really good defense and does not screw up a lot and wins close games. However, he still has the same offense that does not do much. And Northwestern last week skated in the fourth quarter, barely got past Ball State, not you, who we don't think too much of this year. I think it's kind of silly that Minnesota's getting 5. It was 6. I think it's a 3-point spread, in my opinion. I think Minnesota could win the game. I actually think Minnesota's going to win the game. But what do you think about Minnesota getting 5 at Northwestern?
I think Minnesota, like you said, is a team that doesn't score points. They don't give up many, but I think Northwestern will score more than they're going to cover. I'm going to go with Chicago's hometown team.
Oh, Jesus.
And my man Fitz, and I think they will cover the 5-point spread.
Boy. I did pick Minnesota to win the Big Ten West, so they have to win at Northwestern if they're going to win the Big Ten West, so that's part of the thought process here. Number 2, we're going to our beloved Huskies. A very disappointing loss last week to Boston College and a bunch of dudes, but they did cover. For the second straight week, the offense looked like it was stuck in mud, and it would look like they were playing in the 1990s. But Central Michigan has beat them last year, only team that beat them in the MAC. 2011, Central Michigan got them during their long MAC streak. They owe Central Michigan definitely a win here. I was very surprised the line is only 2.5. That's a little disrespectful for on the surface of the two teams, in a nutshell so far this year. If they were 4-point underdogs to Boston College and only be 2.5-point favorites at Central Michigan. I know Central Michigan hung with Michigan State for a while last week, but I don't know if that's an indictment on Michigan State yet because they have yet to cover versus anybody. But what do you think about the Huskies covering 2.5 up in the Kelly Jean Short Stadium?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, NIU close game versus OSU, and then the loss to BC. Central Michigan close loss, I guess, to Michigan State. I think the Huskies are going to win this game. At the end of the day, I think they'll score more points than Central Michigan. Yeah. So I'd have to go with the Huskies.
Yeah, here. I thought it was going to be somewhere in the 4.5. I thought it was Vegas zone. I thought 4.5 or something where they wouldn't really favor Central Michigan, but in this case, they kind of are pushing towards believing a little bit in them. Number 1 pick for the first time in 72 weeks, and it might be since the last time they were at Georgia with Matthew Stafford at quarterback. Maybe I'm not sure 100%, but Alabama getting 2.5 points at Georgia. My argument is very clear and concise with Alabama. They have struggled the last couple of years whenever they've lost to a spread, mobile, run it around quarterback who's going to do a lot of read option, Auburn doing those weird read option, throw the ball as soon as they're about to get to the line of scrimmage over the defense type plays. Georgia doesn't do any of that. Georgia runs a very conventional hand the ball off, throw short passes, and they have our ex-quarterback who has been putting up some incredible statistics so far for a guy who does not throw the ball over 5 yards when he throws, because almost every single pass I watch is a 2-yard pass that the guy runs for 20 yards. He ain't going to be running for 20 yards against Alabama. Alabama as an underdog, that's something that I'm sure Nick Saban's going to enjoy. Georgia also has a long history in the last 15 years under Mark Richt of choking when it matters. And I like Alabama to win this game. I was very surprised that they weren't a very slight favorite in it. What do you think?
You know what? I think you kind of mentioned it, but Georgia, they've got somewhat of a running game that kind of gives me a chub. No pun intended.
He's pretty good.
But you know what? They haven't had a real challenge yet, and this will be Alabama's first real road game. So I'm kind of torn on both sides of it. I expect Alabama to win.
Mm-hmm.
The points and statistics say that Georgia should win this game. I agree. I don't think they're going to be able to run over Alabama like they've been running through, the first few games. But I think I would have to take Alabama in this one too.
Yeah, and I think the same thing happened last year when they lost to Ole Miss, and everybody started writing all the articles. Well, if they lose to Ole Miss, they could lose 2, 3, 4 games, and they ended up not losing again until the semifinal. I'm not saying that's going to happen for sure, but I haven't seen Alabama lose 2 games in a row in a long time, and until I see that, it's hard for me to think that's the way to throw your money. And we'll see. We'll find out a lot about Georgia this weekend. So what do you got do you have a pick of the week? I know your Twitter handle, you don't use it very much, but at Jimmy Midnight.
Jimmy Midnight's pick of the week. This is a great one. I think it comes as no surprise. But Michigan State playing Purdue.
Oh.
And it's a 21.5 point spread, I think, and over under a 56.5.
Okay.
I would take Michigan State with the over 57-0 in this game. That's my pick of the week.
I could feel a lot of Purdue love on this one. You almost hope Purdue has a couple wins in them the rest of the year so that they don't fire their coach, because I think the only way they're going to get better is to fire their coach, because clearly the guy they brought in, I think he's 5-23.
I don't think he's going to last.
No.
He's got to be on his way out here.
Yeah.
If not before the end of the season, it'll happen at the end. Not in Illinois fashion.
No, they're not going to. They're not going to wait. Illinois eked out a win last week. A lot of people didn't see it, but they hit a 51-yard field goal with 2 minutes left to beat Middle Tennessee State. So it wasn't exactly a ringing win, but hey, a win's a win, and 3-1 for Illinois sounds pretty good after the off season they had. So let's get to the main event that you wanted to come on here for. Hoosiers 4-0 for the first time since 1990. They were 3-0 a few years ago, and I believe they ended up 5-7. They've only made, if I believe it's 7 bowl games, and only one since 1992 or 93. You're in pretty good shape to make a bowl game. Can you bring back the memories of the early 90s and hang with Ohio State this weekend? I do want to remember or tell everybody that last year, resident MEP's laughingstock Xander Diamont had a early third quarter lead in the horseshoe over the eventual national champions as Tevin Coleman was tearing through that defense. I'm picking Ohio State to cover 3 touchdowns, and that's more because Indiana hasn't played anybody anywhere near Ohio State, and the couple teams they've played have scored a ton of points on them. So I'm more worried that Ohio State's going to score 50 points on them than I am Indiana not being able to score. So as a Hoosier alum and you're proud of every Hoosier except for fuckhead Subway Jared. What do you think about the big game? I know you're sad that the game's not on game day, but the Irish had to steal your thunder there.
That's okay. Let's get this to what it actually is.